Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Friday, June 21st, 2019. Hope everybody had a decent work week. We have finally made it to Friday. Sorry about that, folks. I was kind of going over some stuff before we started the program tonight. Here we are at the grandsolarminimum.com, where you can find all of the links to tonight's articles on our broadcast tonight. We'll get started with some space weather news like we always do. Taking a look at our solar wind speed, sitting around 391.8 kilometers with a density of 8.3. Checking out spaceweather.com. The sun is blank once again, 33 days in a row without sunspots. And we'll go to our space weather section here at the grandsolarminimum.com. I do apologize. So it's been quiet so far from the sun. No coronal holes really to speak of. We have a minor one in the southern region of our star, but nothing to really talk about. KP indices haven't driven past 3 in the past 3 days, hovering around the 1 and 2 range. And like I said, we have a small coronal hole in the southern region of our star that could graze our southern part of our magnetic field, but nothing major is expected. And if we look at some activity around the negative 180 region of our star, really just some brightness, active regions, nothing to go as far as predicting any kind of sunspot activity, as we don't see anything on the eastern limb. The previous prediction of a possibility of 35 days appears at this point that it might get shattered. So we are still without a sunspot for now 33 days in a row. We will continue to monitor this as we watch this unfold. And really, a lot of this has to do with previous records that we've kept during solar minimums and how deep we are actually going at this time. It's amazing to me with all the work that we've done with watching stuff that we've talked about with Dr. Zarkova and John Casey and David Dilley, listening to what he was talking about with lunar cycles. And then this week, really, the last 10 days have been mind-blowing as far as basically disclosure on what's happening out there as far with these solar cycles, with these theories of, is it man-made, is it CO2, all of this is coming together now. And honestly, it's making my head spin. When I look at this, when I look at space weather and I look at some of the papers and the predictions that we've seen here recently, the NASA mission with their articles talking about solar cycle 25 was going to be weaker than originally thought in the first place. And I have a couple of graphs that I want to show real quick before we get started with the world news. I know this is kind of out of sync here, but we're talking about sunspots and NASA's release of information, talking about our next solar cycle 25 to be the weakest in around 200 years. So this work here is done by TSM Solar Observations, Mr. David Birch, Starman. Here was the 2014 solar cycle 24 peak. This is the number that we're looking at from his calculations for 2025's maximum, which NASA said 50 or 15 to 30% over or under that number. So no pun intended, this forecast right here for solar cycle 25 and 26 could be spot on, if you know what I mean. So I just wanted to show everybody that. I'll go back to this here in a little bit. Let's go back to the top though. Sorry about that, folks. Violent hailstorm in Turin earlier today, June 21st, 2019. Check out this hail. Just a river of it. And this is not the only footage we have from today for massive amounts of hail. You know, we've talked about the increase of hail during these solar minimums, but I don't think in my life, thinking back to all the way back to my teenage years, to my childhood, you know, even though we didn't have the social medias back then, I don't remember seeing videos like this. So this is something we've talked about many times on the channel. Increased hail, flooding, cosmic rays. Obviously, this is the proof that they are interacting with our other particulates in the atmosphere and seeding clouds as well. The amount of hail, the amount of cold air that's in the atmosphere right now. That's another reason why we've seen so many tornadoes in the United States this year. A huge increase. More hail. This is footage from northern Italy. Mari had dug this up right before the show. Check this out, guys. This is around ankle deep. This is hail, not snow. And these cars are basically up to their mid tires in hail. And I'm sure that laugh was out of disbelief. I mean, these people are wearing shorts. This is not freezing cold outside. Obviously, this is from a thunderstorm, but look at how much actually fell. I mean, this is a good 6 inches of hail. Easily. And speaking of the white stuff, guys, severe storm hits British Columbia and Alberta with heavy rain, hail, and snow. This happened on June 18th and June 19th. We reported on this on Wednesday night, how they were beginning to get it. A surprise snowfall hit the Okang connector on the Drive B Chaiway earlier. Oh, that's highway, not Chaiway. Again, Teo, thank you. Good Lord. Anyway, I'm like Ron Burgundy, guys. You put it on the teleprompter and I'll read it. So watch out. But more footage of this snowstorm. Guys, this is the first, well, this is close to the first day of summer. And we have another summer snow to talk about, by the way. The first day of summer, we did have snowfall, June 21st, in the lower 48. Jasper National Park region, Alberta, is under snowfall and rainfall warning on June 20th. Rainfall warning in effect for the city of Edmonton, St. Albert, Sherwood Park, Drayton Valley, Devon, Rembley, Pigeon Lake, Hinton, Grand Cache, Nordreg, Forestry Trunk Road Highway 734, Rocky Mountain House, Caroline Spruce Grove, Mournville, Mayerthorpe, Evansburg, and Whitecourt, Edson, Fox Creek, Swan Hills. Those are the rain and snowfall warnings that were in effect, along with a long episode of rain at times. Continues heavy. Environment Canada said the rainfall warning was issued on the 20th. They were expecting totals around 3 inches in some spots. Others were looking snowfall of almost 4 inches of snow in certain regions. Snow has weakened off for today, but light snow is still expected overnight before intensifying Thursday, where a further 3.93 inches of snow is expected. So this was yesterday. But I still want to talk about it. We briefly talked about it on Wednesday, and it wasn't just a dusting or a coating. This was 4 inches of white stuff. And this is going to take too long to load. You guys can check all this footage out at our website, grandsolarminimum.com. So after the BC snow, let's go ahead and head it back over to the rain. More severe storms hit the eastern United States on June 20th, 2019, bringing strong winds and heavy rain. Some areas received more than 1 month's average of rain in June just in 48 hours. Storms also affected other parts of the country since June 19th, causing floods and landslides. Severe thunderstorms brought winds in excess of 50 miles per hour and heavy rain over already saturated ground, downing trees and power poles and leaving over 215,000 customers without power as of late Thursday night. The worst affected states were North and South Carolina, where 145,000 people lost power. As of 9 UTC on June 21st, only 14,613 were without power in South Carolina and just over 11,000 in North Carolina. Meanwhile, 10,000 in Virginia and 35,000 people in Arkansas were without power as well. So interesting to include little old Arkansas over here in this East Coast storm. But South Carolina registered gusts of around 79 miles per hour, and in Duck, North Carolina, they were 78 miles per hour. Philadelphia, PA registered around 4.8 inches of rain in just 2 days. June 20th bringing its monthly total to 7.71 inches. Its usual average is about 3.43 inches, so we are definitely doubling that effort for the month of June. Again, it's only the 21st. We have about 9 to 10 days left to go, so still chance to add on to this total, as when we look at the GFS, I will show you guys there are expected more showers to the East Coast throughout the next 2 weeks. State of emergency was declared in Burlington County, New Jersey after floods forced evacuations. Numerous homes in Southampton, Pemberton Township, Pemberton Borough, Lumberton, Medford, Mount Laurel, Burlington City, and Mount Holly. High water rescues also took place in Westerville, New Jersey, and Vincetown, PA, where rescuers had to use boats to evacuate residents. In southwestern Ohio, heavy rain caused landslide on Cincinnati area Parkway. Another landslide closed State Route 7 in eastern Ohio's Jefferson County. Roads were also closed Wednesday night in Columbus. Parts of Interstate 71 near Grove City were also closed Wednesday night, and we talked about that when we were broadcasting on Wednesday on our show, where several folks had actually reported to us from that area water standing in fields all over I-71, and some little townships and villages off of that highway were also flooding water in their streets and sidewalks. All right, so we'll leave the information here on the grandsolarminimum.com. Again, more areas of the United States being flooded out. Let's take a look at this real quick. Last week the last couple of weeks, we've been dealing with the Ohio area, dealing with floods right in here. And weeks previous before that, it was back in this area here. And then we went further back into Oklahoma and Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska. They're still getting it. And it looks like each part of the United States continues to get their chance at heavy rains. Almost a month's worth of rain in just 2 days. And really, it's been like this from the central plains of the United States, and it's moved all the way across to the East Coast now. And when we get into the GFS in a little while, we will show you that the atmosphere just continues to reload one round after another. Another strong and shallow earthquake, 6.2, hits the Kermadec Islands region in New Zealand. The one thing I wanted to point out about this article, we've been talking about this region now for earthquakes for several days, 7 to 10 days now. And interesting comment that I read the other day from this actual earthquake region, and it was one of our videos. And forgive me, I don't remember which one exactly it was, but he left a comment, interesting conversation about how these earthquakes are continuing to move down this fault and moving towards New Zealand. And, maybe he's shooting from the hip or the gut, or maybe he pays attention and has a good idea where this next quake might strike. But this gentleman commented in the comment section he wouldn't be surprised to hear about a 4.4 in the middle of New Zealand tomorrow sometime. So just an opinion, just observation. So we will keep our eyes on this particular swarm as it has been active. Nothing crazy, no tsunami warnings or anything like that. But just something to watch as we have zero solar activity right now. KP indices are low. Quake seismicity is definitely in favorable conditions right now, along with volcanic explosions as well. 17 are still missing. Severe floods and landslides. Once again, southwest China since last week. There's about 7 provinces that have really been affected the worst. 88 people have been killed, up from 61. So this is a continuing death toll, unfortunately, from this story that we have been covering now for what it seems to be at least 2 weeks. But the death toll continues to climb. When we first reported on this, we probably mentioned, 9,300 homes. Now they're saying at least 17,000 have been destroyed, 82,000 affected. 30 were dead. And then a few days later, we updated the story and it was 60 dead. And now we are at a total of 88 with 17 still missing. So this is a update from an event that happened quite a while, still dealing with the search and rescue effort right now. And again, they're still experiencing heavy rain, and it's predicted to continue out there. Anywhere from 4 to 7 inches is expected to fall over the next few days out in this region. So already dealing with floods, people dying. The death toll continues to climb, and more rains and floodwaters also will continue to climb, as we will keep an eye on this region once again. But very sad that we continue to update this story, and it is not good news. Folks, hang tight. We'll be right back.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.